This is Susan Lynn, Psychic Medium. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, thank you. If you're a returning viewer and or subscriber, thank you, thank you. I'm a psychic medium. I do these videos. I get my information from my spirit guides as I'm talking to you. It's kind of a unique thing that I do. But today I want to talk about before I get my guides really engaged in me, I just need to tell you something because I'm going to be a little gleeful about it, and I'm not sure that is exactly their vibe at the moment. But here's the thing: I read that the former guy. Now, I normally don't like to talk about him, but this is really important. I think the former guy last year, he gave $122 million in refunds to his supporters who said that they were tricked into donating multiple times or even being a recurring subscriber. And apparently whoever made him donate or give that money back agreed with them that they were indeed tricked. And the other statistic that I think is kind of mind-blowing is also 3% of all credit card fraud claims in the United States were directly related to the former guy. 3% of all fraud. Now you know the guy in Zimbabwe, the guy in India, all these different people who are defrauding us all the time, calling us about various things and scamming us. Our previous president was 3% of that. 3%. He owned 3% of that fraud activity. Yes, he did. So I almost want to shoot this off. $122 million he had to give back. Okay, so you know why I had to do this before I got my guides connected in, because I am gleeful. But we wait for Mitch McConnell. Maybe Matt Gaetz, maybe Jim Jordan. There's a lot of people. I'm ordering a 5-pack. Okay, let's get started. Oh my gosh, I have a list over here. First of all, as I connect into my guides, they're showing me Biden being like this. With the picture of Biden, he almost looks like he's so focused, right? He's literally focused. So what they show me is Biden is focused on his task, right? I mean, he's got Mayor Pete and Kamala Harris and Janet Yellen and all these people doing their things, right? He's given them all jobs to do. But Biden is focused. He's focused on getting this vaccine out. He's focused on fixing the economy. He's focused on that big infrastructure bill that Mayor Pete is out there just kicking Fox's butt about every day. Meanwhile, when I look at this energy, I see, like Governor DeSantis in Florida just going down just acting crazy, just doing crazy things, I see the various states' legislators cooking up these anti-voting cocktails of just injustice, right? And so I see all these things. And I've often wondered about it. And that's why the guides want to show me the picture, because it's easy to say, well, shouldn't Biden be looking over there? Because, shouldn't he be worried about this or worried about that? But no, Biden knows what he has to do to help the American people. And he knows it's a big ask. He knows it's a big thing, a big lift. And so he is focused on that. He's not going to take his eye off the ball. He's actually got lists once he gets done with the vaccines, and I'm going to loop back around to that. Once he gets done, we get to a certain number of people that have been vaccinated, and he feels like he can move over to the infrastructure bill. And then he's actually going to do some special order signing, whatever that is that he can do on his own, that's going to change the language around terrorism and terrorist, so that we can have a net to start capturing these American terrorists. There's no other way to put around it. That's who they are. That's what they are. And he's also going to be working with Congress to create some new definitions and some new laws around that. So that's going to help us capture these people. That's the whole point. So I guess why I'm telling you this, or why they're asking me to tell you this or show you this, is because it's easy to be alarmed by some of the things that are happening in the States and think that maybe we're not doing enough, right? We're just not doing enough. It's the nutzos are still doing what they're doing, and that's still harming us, and shouldn't we do something about it? But they're telling me this guy, Biden, is like focused in a way that I don't think he's aware that he has extra help. You understand what I'm saying? He has extra help, like laser. It's like a laser beam. It's like a laser beam. And so why that's important is he knows that if he can make Americans' lives better, right? If he can help them get health care, because they've extended the marketplace, you can now apply for Affordable Care Act all the way through August now. So that's a big thing, right? If you lose your job, you can still apply. I think you could apply if you lost your job. I think that was an extenuating circumstance. But for whatever reason, if you just need more time to apply, you can. He is, of course, the stimulus money is coming in. We have another round of PPP, the employer, where businesses can get money, that coming through. That's there. The money is there. Like right now, you could go apply for that money and get that money. So he's literally doing things that's going to make the average American's life better. And that's the war. That's where the war is waged. And that's where the war is won. Okay. So I guess what they're showing me is these nut jobs, and they show me like spinning around, like they're just spinning in a circle. You know what I mean? They're not doing anything, right? They're just spinning in a circle. Biden is doing something. He's like on a track. And he's meeting things head on. He's meeting this situation at the border with the children and the influx of people. He's trying to meet that head on. He's going to be working on that. There are no good solutions. There are no good solutions here. But at least we can be humane, right? And at least we can create some, what they're showing me is create a, what would you call it? It's like infrastructure. It's infrastructure. So they, as you might know, or maybe you don't know, but the former guy gutted the infrastructure. There's no infrastructure. There's nobody, you pick up the phone, there's nobody to call. There's no infrastructure. So Biden is going to create infrastructure. They're showing me right now that I see these young like attorneys and social workers, and they're at not-for-profit organizations, and they are working in tandem with the Border Patrol and the American government, and they're giving me chills, to find relatives in the United States. So now, of course, this trips over some other issues, because what's going to happen, I'm being shown, is that the kids would have to take a DNA test, and that the people to receive them would have to take a DNA test. And in that way, at least the government could be certain that this child is going to a family member. And then, see, just like everything with a free society, that raises problems with people, right? Because now you've got their DNA. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to track them? I mean, it creates other problems. But so I guess that's why I need to tell you this, because there is no just perfect solution here. There's just not. Okay. So there's always going to be an angle. There's always going to be an angle to attack this president and his things that he's doing. Always. We just have to try to do the best we can do. He's trying to do the best he can do. He's worried about these kids getting in families that aren't theirs, and then he's just really worried. I mean, and I see Joe Biden is really worried about these children, and they just want to make sure, beyond some shadow of a doubt, that these kids are going to a home that can help them, protect them, can afford to feed them and clothe them, right? I mean, it's almost as if you're trying to find a child that's in foster care, and you're trying to find a relative that can take this child. Well, of course, CPS is probably going to do a home check, and they're going to want to know that, it's a safe place. So that's what's going on with that. I see these young, I think it's really cool, because what they're showing me is these young idealistic, I don't know why it's idealistic, but the feeling that they have is idealistic. These young people that are social workers and attorneys, they really have this feeling like they're really doing something that is historic, right? That they're really helping these kids. They're really helping these families. They're doing things for this altruistic, right? They're not making hardly any money. They're down on the border of the United States with Mexico. They're just doing it because their heart's in the right place. So, and I have to tell you that some of these people might disagree with some of the things that the Biden administration wants to do. It's not a perfect place. It's not a perfect world, but I do see that it's a hell of a lot more perfect than kids in cages, sleeping in those space, on the floor with those space blankets. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, let's be reasonable, right? I think Biden is doing the best he can do, and I think he's going to go out and meet it head on. He's not going to stick his head in the sand. He's not going to say that's the governor of Texas or the governor of Arizona or whoever. He's not going to pass the buck. He's actually going to go down there and get involved. Okay, so I want to talk about, I have a list of things that I do this in my readings too. People tell me a list of things, and then the guides tell me what to do and in what order, because often they're linked, right? They're either linked or they're dependent upon each other. So the list doesn't get done in the way you would think it does, but it all makes sense in the end. Okay, so wow, they want to talk about what do they want to talk about? They want to talk about something that's not on my list, and I have to get it from them. Michigan. Oh yes, they wanted to talk about Michigan. It's not on my list. Okay, got it. They want to talk about, of all places, Michigan is, I'm going to get the statistic wrong, but it's many 100% increase in COVID infections. Several hundred, I think it's 500 or 700% increase. Recently in COVID, infections, or, I'm connected to them, so I can't always get the right, I'm going to say cases. And so, obviously we're all alarmed by this, right? And also I have clients everywhere, every day, but I had a client in LA a few days ago, and she said LA is in a lockdown, right? So LA is experiencing just this huge outbreak of COVID. And I guess what they said too was the governor, Gavin Newsom, he took the, oh boy, anyway, with the vaccine, he outsourced it. He outsourced the vaccine. So it didn't go well. They didn't vaccinate people. They didn't, whatever it wasn't organized. It isn't organized. So, which leads me to this next thing. I saw for months, starting months ago, I saw Biden bringing in the National Guard. I see these people in green fatigues, with the little hats that fit really tight around with the little bill. Anyway, I see them doing shots in arms, like, right, you pull up in your car and there's a line of like army tents, you're green, and they just shoot you in the arm and you go on. And I'm not necessarily saying it's army, because it could be Navy, it could be corpsmen, it could be anything, right? It could be any military. But I've been wondering, why am I not seeing that? Because I saw it clear. I still see it clearly as day, right? And I'm wondering, why isn't that happening? Do we not need it? Is it something that I saw and we all have free will, and maybe the governors did a better job? And I think this is what's happening. I think a few of these cities and states that are just overrun by by new infections that and they can't handle it, right? They just, for whatever reason, the infrastructure is not there, or the leadership, or whatever it is, they can't handle inoculating, vaccinating this many people this fast. They just can't do it. So that's why Biden is going to bring in these National Guard, Army, whatever they are, people, because those people know how to do things on scale, right? They know how to scale something up very quickly. And it could also be a money thing, like just a budgetary thing, right? Like we might have the vaccines, but you don't have the budget to have so many volunteers. I know where I went in Texas, they used a big county park, and it was like a well-oiled machine. I was first one in line, so I was probably maybe 30 or 40 cars down, but they had it. You just drove up to these checkpoints, and it was like check, 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 needle, check, check, check. Sit in this parking lot for 15 minutes. If you have a problem, honk your horn. If you don't, leave. And that thing, I don't know, I got vaccinated 2 weeks ago, and I drive by that park on occasion, and it's still running like a well-oiled. I mean, they've got sheriff out on the road that have blocked off an entire lane so that people can come in. I mean, it's a big production, right? And I just want to say that, of course, I live in a Republican controlled area, and hats off to them. Hats off to them for running this right. Now, I do know that a lot of the people in that lineup, all the nurses and the doctors and whoever they all are, a lot of them are volunteers. They're just flat out volunteers. They're not getting paid, and they're working their butts off. And I appreciate that. So I think what you're going to see is these hot spots of the virus. I think you're going to see Biden get involved, because we've got these other variants that are starting to pop up, and they're very contagious. And we don't really want to have that take a hold. We don't really want to have that happen. So somebody's going to have to do something. So I'm pretty sure you're going to hear Biden be on the phone with these people and saying, let me help you, right? Let me help you, or maybe you should call your own state guard or something, but you have to do something, and you have to do something very quickly. Do you need money, right? Do you need resources? What can I help you do, right? Because this is a big deal. So I think this is why I saw the picture, and I did see it happening in the summer. So we're not quite there yet. So it might be, I don't know what month this is when I'm channeling kind of this April. It might be in June, April, May, June. I hope not. June is pretty far away. I hope it's more like May. But that's what I saw. They want to talk about that. They want to talk about, if you have not gotten your vaccination for whatever reason, be very careful, because these new strains are just they're not good. They're not good. And the guides talked about this about, I don't know, months ago. They showed me. And it didn't make any sense at the time because we didn't have a vaccine, but they showed me people getting vaccinated, and then some people not getting vaccinated, and then the virus kind of intermixing with all of that, and it getting really confusing, and I don't think we're there yet, because I think what's going to happen is that those of us that have been vaccinated, we might get the virus, might get a decent, illness out of it. Of course, hopefully nobody will be seriously ill, but to the point where we may have to go to the hospital, and then it's just going to get very confusing. And that's what they showed me. So to the degree that you want to, you haven't been vaccinated, please stay safe. If you have been vaccinated, please stay safe. We don't know yet. We don't really know how this vaccine is going to interact. I had the J&J vaccine because that's the first one that I could get, the Johnson & Johnson. We don't really know. We don't really have this data. So just everybody be careful. Is that all they want to talk about with Michigan? They're telling me more states are going to be having problems. We have more lessons to learn, is what they want to say. We have more lessons to learn. What does that mean? It means that our lesson here was to take care of each other, right? That was our whole lesson. That was the whole karmic lesson of this is, I wear a mask to protect you. It doesn't protect me, it protects you. Many of us are carriers of the virus without our knowing that we are. So I guess we have some more lessons to learn around this, around helping each other, loving each other, and respecting each other. So that's where we are with that. They don't want to scare anybody, but they want you to know that you have to be careful, especially if you're in an area that for whatever reason is having a surge. Okay, so just be careful. Let's not let our guards down all the way. I mean, let's continue to be careful a little bit. Let's see what else. I wanted to say. I wanted to say about the. In my last video, I talked about how the guides thought that the money runs, for good or for bad, money runs everything in this country right now. And we all have wallets, we all have money, we all vote with our little dollars or our big dollars. And the guides said that Georgia, that these companies would put the pressure on these states. So you see Georgia had the MLB, the Major League Baseball, pull out, or All-Star game pulled out of Georgia. So, and they wanted to remind me that we also boycotted the NASCAR, remember, with the Confederate flag. So, a lot of these companies are getting this message that they need to be on the right side of history, and they need to be on the right side of their buyers, of their clients, of their consumers' pocketbook. And if they're on the wrong side of their consumers' pocketbook, they're going to be in trouble. So now you have these corporations really feeling the heat from their consumers, and then you have the Republicans feeling the heat from the corporations. This is like a natural, the guides are saying it's like a natural correction, if you will, if you think money is natural. But the money will cause these people to get back in line because let's face it, we all know that these companies donate to these Republican and Democrat campaigns. And so if the company's going to experience a hardship because of something that a politician did, then that's going to affect the politician's bottom line as well, when that company pulls their money and support from that politician. So in this way, they're trying to steer them back towards the middle. And I think it's bizarre because well, I don't know why I think it's bizarre. Because they're showing me, when I asked the question, then they show me, like, the question I asked was, it's bizarre that the Republicans are still acting crazy, right? I mean, why are they doing this? It's against their own interest. It's against their own interest to go against capitalism, to go against these companies. Now, we do know that the companies speak out of both sides of their mouth, right? That they donate and then they say, oh, bad congressman. But the truth of the matter is that's going to stop, because now we have all of these eyes on them, and we're going to start looking at how they donate. So that's going to stop. But the reason why the Republicans are continuing to go against their better interests is because they're owned by somebody else. Right? I mean, we talked about this in my last video. They're owned by somebody else. Somebody else has dirt on them. Somebody else has some kind of very incriminating evidence that may that they don't want to come out. That they don't want to come out. So they are they're towing the line, right? The guides are showing me a fishing pole and a line, and a fish is caught on the lure, and whoever has the fishing pole is dragging the fish wherever they want to go, right? So that's what the guides are showing me. These people are hooked. They're owned. They're being controlled by somebody else, whoever has that fishing pole, right? It's not their constituents. It's not, because you can see that in how they vote. You can see that in how they're acting. What else? Is there anything else I want to talk about? Quickly, Marjorie Taylor Greene just got she just got suspended from Twitter for 12 hours. And people are saying that they got suspended for 12 hours for weeks, actually, for retweeting something that Marjorie Taylor Greene herself tweeted. So you're starting to see people really be very aware. You're starting to see people are now adding 2 + 2 = 4, but for Marjorie Taylor Greene, it equals 26, And so people are starting to say, wait, what's that about? So you're going to start seeing more pressure on people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz is toast. He's toast. He's toast. He's toast. Jim Jordan, these people are going to start dropping out. And you know what I think is funny? This is really funny, guys. My guides showed me this picture. Now, remember, videos ago, my guides said that Liz Cheney was the woman that the Democratic Party, well, yeah, but the woman that the Republican Party wanted to be the face of the Republican Party. That's who they wanted. They didn't want Nikki Haley. They didn't want they wanted Liz Cheney. Okay. And Liz Cheney she's something else, right? I mean, she's sitting back there. The picture they show me is a cat. She looks like a cat. And she's got something she's picking her teeth with, and it's a fish bone. And the fish bone is from the fish swimming around her, right? So she's just biding her time. She's watching the mayhem. She's watching this, Republican blow up, this Republican blow up. And she's just sitting back, letting them all blow each other up and take each other out, take each other down. And when all that's done, she will walk her little cat self to the podium and accept, the queenship of the Republican Party. Now, I am not a Liz Cheney fan. I'm not a Dick Cheney fan. Far from it. I'm just telling you what I see. This is, Liz Cheney is setting these people up. I wouldn't be surprised. And you got to know Dick Cheney was, Dick Cheney has tons of really dark underworld connections, and so they're showing me that she could even be setting up these people a little bit. Not that they haven't done wrong, not that Matt Gaetz hasn't done wrong. For sure he has, but you can just bet that Liz Cheney had somebody there to document it, because she's going to let all these people just go down the tubes. And in that way, I'm kind of appreciative of her, right? But, and then when she gets in her role, then we'll have to deal with her because she's going to be formidable. What else do I want to tell you guys? I wanted to talk, two things. Chuck Schumer, don't ask me where this came from in Chuck Schumer's brain. I mean, I'm for it, but why now? I don't know. Why this is what he wants to fall on his sword about right now, I don't know. Chuck Schumer is saying, who's the majority of the Senate, leader of the Senate, he's saying he wants to bring legalization of marijuana before the Senate. He's saying he's going to do it. He doesn't care if Biden is not on board. He doesn't care. And I honestly, I do think Biden is lukewarm about it because Biden is old school, but also Biden is like, I've got my list. He's got tunnel vision, right? And he's not going to go outside of that tunnel. He's not. He's going to stay focused. That's his goal. So this marijuana legalization thing feels like they're making him consider something that's not in his tunnel, right? I'm all for it. To be honest with you, I'm completely for it. Let's tax it. Let's make some money off of it. It's just like liquor to me, have rules, have laws, and tax it, and let's just move on, right? Let's just move on. But I think it's interesting that Schumer is pushing this now. And I feel like, they're showing me, because I wondered before I did this video, I wondered why Schumer would do this, right? I mean, Schumer's no firebrand. He's no firebrand. He's pretty much middle of the road, do what you have support for kind of guy. But that's what they're showing me. When I just asked them, why would he be doing this? They just showed me he has support. He has big support from somebody, from a big industry. And it's not the marijuana growers industry, because those are smaller farms and smaller people. And but that means that either the pharmaceutical, you know what? They were trying to make a fake version of marijuana. Because of course, the pharmaceutical company wants to own everything. They want all the dollars, they want all the dollars. So, it could be that they're ready to produce this, whatever you want to call it, marijuana, this version of it that's basically a clone. It's made in a lab. It's a lab. So that must be close, because it's always about money. It's always about money. So that's very interesting. And it's very interesting that they brought that to my attention. I mean, it is going to bring money. It's going to bring money. It's going to bring money to cities, money to states, money, jobs. It's going to do all those things. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is it's going to let and they're expunging people's records, right? In New York, I think New York just voted it in, maybe, and isn't Chuck Schumer for, anyway, so they're expunging people's records, and if you're in prison, because don't even get me started on it, but if you are a black or brown person, you're going to do more time if you have pot on you than you are a white person. The studies have been done. It is what it is. It's the truth. So at least this will help those communities, right, that have been bearing the burden of that. So I think that's good. I think that's interesting. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the student loan debt. They're going to do something. I guess I'm seeing some various people coalesce around this. It feels like next year, though. It doesn't feel like this year. It feels like next year. It feels like again, I got to tell you guys, until Biden gets this virus thing down and he gets his infrastructure bill voted on, you can't talk to him about anything. He's not going to talk to you about it. He's focused. So I think next year, early, mid next year, looks around spring, I think they're going to bring that forward. They might be bringing that forward around at the same time. Hopefully, maybe it'll be next year for the marijuana legalization. But there's going to be a rework of the student loans. There's going to be a rework of the debt that is owed. It's going to be reworked. The interest rate for those loans is going to be reduced. Some loans will be exonerated. I don't know what the word is. They're trying to tell me exonerated. That doesn't make any sense. But you understand what I'm saying. The loans are going to be, forgiven. They're going to be forgiven. So that's great. Now, I'm not talking about $200,000 loan being forgiven. I'm not talking about that. I think there's going to be rules. I think you're going to have to, just like everything in government, you're going to have to meet 27 criteria and blah, blah, blah. But for those people that it does work for, it's wonderful. It's a shot in the arm for the economy. It's a big deal. And then for the rest of the people, who got maybe advanced degrees, maybe they got law degrees, or maybe they got medical degrees or something like that, those people will have a reduced rate, a reduced interest rate, and then the government will take control of the loan, in the sense that the government will back the loan, much the way the Pell Grants were. The government would back, so if you defaulted, the government would say, we got this person's back, right? And because of that security, these loan providers can now reduce the interest rate because you're not as much of a risk. Okay. So this makes a big deal, though. I mean, even if you're not getting your loan forgiven, it makes a really big deal, because you would be the kind of person that would, instead of, I know people who are never going to pay their loan off. It's never going to happen because the interest rate is so high. The money that they're paying, it never makes any dent in anything, right? So by reducing the interest rate, you're actually paying on the loan. You can actually pay the loan off and move on with your life, right? I believe that these loans are starting to impact people getting homes. They're starting to impact people getting getting apartments. And so that's where I think it got the eye of the government, of Biden's administration. They're punitive. They're punitive, and they're almost like scams. You know, they're almost, the interest rate is so high. It's just ridiculous. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm looking at my list again. Briefly, I want to talk about the Florida wastewater thing. There's a wastewater containment pond that is in Florida near Tampa, and the walls are going to break. And because of that, and if these walls break, a surge of 15-foot high water, a wall of 15-foot high water could roll out of that and straight into these neighborhoods, 300 houses that they've had to evacuate. Now, of course, this is Florida, and we understand this because I'm in Texas, and people don't want to evacuate their homes because I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of people that didn't evacuate, and they're just sitting ducks. And then furthermore, there's a prison that the sheriff has moved all the inmates to the second floor, and the second floor is only 10 foot high off the ground. So if you do the math, I think they're still going to get hit with 5 foot of that water. So I don't think that's going to be good for them. So what's going to happen with that? As this often happens to me when I'm watching the news, and the news reporter says, Governor DeSantis says that this pond doesn't have any radioactive, or even I'm watching Governor DeSantis say this pond doesn't have any radioactive contaminants in it. That was reported yesterday, but it's incorrect. And my guides are telling me at the same time if the person's lying. It's like a lie detector test. When people are talking, they'll say he's lying. It's really funny, kind of. Yeah, they said he's lying. It has radioactive qualities in it. I'm not saying that it's Chernobyl, but I'm saying that there's trace radioactive minerals in there, according to my guides. Right now, they are pumping that water they're pumping it out to try to keep the thing from failing wholesale, but they're pumping the water out into the bay and into natural water, natural wetlands and bay. And this is a county called Manatee County. Do you guys know what manatees are? Beautiful cow-like sea creatures that live in rivers. And so we're pumping toxic chemicals that weren't safe to do anything with. We're now pumping it into natural watershed to save these houses. It's just a terrible situation. So my guides, they're bringing in more pumps. And it's terrible if you live in that area because, it's just terrible all the way around. They're bringing in more pumps because they feel like if they can pump out in more water, it will lessen the pressure against the wall, and maybe the wall won't fail. What I'm here to tell you is I think that there's a really good chance that the wall is going to fail. I'm not 100%. I'm not at 100%. But I think that there's a very good chance. Now, I do think that they'll reduce the water enough that it won't be a 15-foot wall of water. But I do see something failing. Let me just go back and ask them. I'm going to go back and ask them because it feels like the energy is changing as I'm talking to you. Because they're bringing in extra pumps tomorrow that are going to be 4 times more water that's pumped out. It's really weird, guys. They're showing me the wall failing and I see water spilling out, but then they also show me the wall intact and the water going down. So the water going down enough that it won't cause the wall. Maybe it'll just be like a partial break. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not like a great big disaster in that sense, but it is, some water does kind of come out. I don't know. But that's what I have for you guys today. I really appreciate you being with me today. Thank you so much. I also do videos on metaphysical things. I help you with those things. I also offer readings, psychic and mediumship, and I also empower you if you are awakening and you have psychic abilities or mediumship abilities, or you're just not sure what the heck is going on with your world. I can help you figure that out too. So thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm blessed, right? I'm blessed. Thank you so much. You guys all take care. Stay safe, have some fun, do some self-care, and we'll talk soon. For entertainment purposes only.